The Ministry of Agriculture endorses this initiative and sees this project as one of the key projects in advancing climate smart practices here in St. Lucia. And we have been supporting this project for the past 2 years, and we are happy to see that it's at a place now where we have tangible results and things that are presented to the stakeholders for discussion.
IICA's role in this project, with the title Advancing Climate Smart Agricultural Practices in St. Lucia, to increase production and mitigate greenhouse gas emissions, is really to support the interest and the development strategy of the Ministry of Agriculture in pursuing an agricultural system that is resilient and that meets the targets for contributions to adaptation and mitigation in the efforts against climate change. This project is funded by the New Zealand Climate Smart Initiative through the New Zealand Ag Emissions Centre. And IICA was invited by the Ministry of Agriculture to support the in-country execution. Primarily, that involves a few key roles in terms of the coordination with partners on the ground, facilitating the access to data, and also ensuring that we have the level of resolution that is needed by the lead technician, that is Dr. Hill, to provide guidance on how agricultural accounting in St. Lucia can progress from Tier 1 to Tier 2. What that does is that it opens up new opportunities for funding and for technical cooperation that are in the interest of agricultural development here in St. Lucia. The conversation, though, on the ground and with farmers and technicians is primarily around how can we support adaptation and, importantly, contribute to mitigation while also boosting productivity and helping our farmers to be more resilient.
Countries like St. Lucia, while not being major producers of greenhouse gases, we do have to be mindful of the fact that we do produce, and we need to see how we can also address farming practices and so on, particularly in the areas of, for example, of livestock production, that would allow us to be able to show responsible approaches to agricultural production.
St. Lucia, like many small island developing states, face unique challenges in developing a climate resilient, low emissions agricultural sector while meeting food security demands. Several agricultural production systems present significant opportunities for sustainable development, while requiring careful management of environmental impacts, including greenhouse gas emissions. This project aims to identify climate-smart agricultural practices that can be adopted by agricultural sectors in St. Lucia and also in Dominica, and develop best practices, training programs, focusing on improved productivity without increasing greenhouse gas emissions.
Most of what we talked about today was the application of climate smart agriculture and the way that those systems could be applied to livestock manure management. In particular, we think the farmers may well be interested in how to retain more nutrients within the manure and how the manure may be stored in a sufficiently well-defined way to ensure that those nutrients are retained. We also had a brief discussion around methane and methane emissions from manure and how the change in, for instance, feed digestibility or feed sources may reduce those emissions.
I think very important for us as farmers, as a people. So I think we need some more. We need some more of these type of activities.
It was a very informative workshop. I learned a lot on greenhouse gas emissions and how it impacts our environment. The group activities which was held allowed us to brainstorm and think of the negative impacts of the greenhouse gas emissions and think of how we can reduce on it and make the environment healthy and safe.
The second phase of the project is just starting out, and this will look at the emissions profiles and the application of climate smart agricultural techniques to the St. Lucian crop sector. So we have been collecting field data over the last 2 weeks on cropping systems and the use of manures, fertilisers, pesticides, how those crops are managed in the paddock and in the pastures, and then how those crops are then taken down the supply chain into your retail outlets. We've had good meetings with both industry and farmers and supply chain companies such that we have a comprehensive picture of the emissions profile for the country.
The project will also increase St. Lucia's greenhouse gas inventory, reporting beyond the livestock sector to include mixed farming, integrated livestock cropping systems, and the cropping sectors by expanding the scope of the Latin America and Caribbean Climate Smart Agriculture project that is implemented by the New Zealand government and the New Zealand Greenhouse Gas Research Centre, focusing on the assessment of small ruminant and non-ruminant intensive production systems for waste recovery and reuse in St. Lucia and by extension Dominica.